Hey guys, this is Tattoo Tony. Stick around, this video is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, out here.
Today we're going to visit 3 different places. We're going to visit downtown St. Louis, the Galleria Mall, and Del Mar Boulevard in St. Louis, all of which are generally packed with people, and you're going to see just how desolate and empty things are. This was filmed across several different days. Now generally on a day like today that we were filming, you would see probably thousands of people out all over these streets, and you would not be able to find a parking place generally at the right times of day. I mean, yeah, this would just be completely packed. You wouldn't be able to park anywhere near here. This area is full of different dining, entertainment, street performers. There's also a statue that is a monument celebrating Chuck Berry's life. He was a St. Louis native. Now, one of the reasons that the streets here are so empty is because on March 7th, the state announced its first case of COVID-19. There was a young woman who had recently returned from studying abroad in Italy, one of the hot spots of the disease at the time. In the days since, the United States had surpassed Italy, China, and every other country in the world in total cases as the numbers ramped up quickly. In the last week, Missouri's cases have shown a similar upward trend, and on Monday, the state surpassed 1,000 cases. So it went from about 1 to over 1,000 cases in 23 days' time. So that kind of cleared the streets. Currently, on April 7th, there was 3,037 total cases in Missouri, 82 deaths. But St. Louis County, being kind of the epicenter of the state, has 1,203 cases and 26 deaths. The city of St. Louis has 399 cases and 12 deaths. What you're looking at here in this shot is the Galleria Mall, which has been shut down. There's a few workers, I suppose maintenance, maybe some bigwigs at some of these stores, but there are no shoppers, and most of the workers are not currently working. Originally, this was the site of the West Road Shopping Center that was anchored by some old stores, Sticks, Bear, and Fuller. The property was sold in 1984 to High Sell Properties, which demolished most of the original mall except for Sticks or North Wing, which included Walgreens, and built the St. Louis Galleria. Dillard's, which had acquired the Sticks chain, expanded the existing location at the same time. In 1991, the building was expanded south of the atrium. The Clayton Famous Bar Store, now Macy's, moved to the Galleria, and luxury department store Lord & Taylor opened on the south end. In addition, they upgraded and added some emergency generators. I'm sure you find that interesting. But look how just completely empty these parking lots are. And this is a view of downtown Clayton, which is a nearby city. We're going to cover that in just a moment. You see some construction going on there. Clayton, Missouri was once a quaint suburb of St. Louis. It incorporated in 1913, and by the 1940s, it was growing at a rapid pace, even maybe back to the 20s. And they lifted restrictions in the 1950s on the height of buildings that you could build in Clayton, and made this area the central business hub, and it is now a very wealthy business area, giant. Here we are on our way to downtown St. Louis, which is eerily empty. This was filmed about a week to 5 days after I filmed the rest of this video, and it was just unbelievably empty. There were some homeless people around downtown and some of the areas surrounding downtown, and there are also a few people walking dogs, but it was very scarce. Generally this would be completely packed on a day like today too. There'd be people everywhere, hard time parking, hardly anybody out at all. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the city of St. Louis, it began with a settlement of the St. Louis area by Native American mound builders who lived as part of the Mississippian culture from the 9th century to the 15th century. Starting in the late 17th century, French explorers arrived. Spain took over in 1763, and a trading company led by Pierre Leclerc and Auguste Chouteau established the settlement of St. Louis in February of 1764. It attracted French settlers leaving Illinois when Britain took control east of the Mississippi. The city grew in population due to its location as a trading post on the Mississippi River. As the western fur trade was lucrative, the city played a small role in the American Revolutionary War and became part of the U.S. through the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. For those of you that are unaware, this is an older city than Chicago, Illinois, and was a city before Chicago was probably even in existence, and at one point was the fourth largest city in the United States. During the 1870s, the Eads Bridge was constructed over the Mississippi River, and the city established several large parks, including Forest Park. Due to local political and economic disputes, the city separated from St. Louis County in 1876 and became an independent city. Its limited geographic area has inhibited its success in the 20th and 21st centuries because of the small tax base. During the late 19th century, St. Louis became home to two Major League Baseball teams. Ragtime and blues music flourished in the city, with African Americans making major contributions in jazz. The city hosted the 1904 World's Fair and the 1904 Summer Olympics, attracting millions of visitors. Part of the infrastructure for the fair was the basis for major city institutions in Forest Park. In the early part of the century, many African Americans migrated from the South to the city for industrial jobs. As part of the Great Migration, St. Louis did not escape the Great Depression and its high unemployment. During World War II, the city hosted war industries that employed thousands of workers. After the war, federal highway subsidies and post-war development encouraged outward migration as residents moved to gain newer housing. The suburbanization significantly reduced the city's middle-class population. The city made efforts to create new attractions such as the Gateway Arch, which construction became a focus of the civil rights movement to gain non-segregated jobs in the skilled trades. The first litigation under the 1964 Civil Rights Act was against St. Louis unions. The city worked to replace substandard housing by new public housing projects such as Pruitt-Igoe, which is the first federal housing project in the United States. A combination of factors resulted in this being notoriously unsuccessful, and it was demolished in the late 20th century. Starting in the 1980s and continuing into the following century, construction and gentrification have increased in some areas of St. Louis, particularly downtown. City beautification and crime reduction have made progress, although St. Louis has continued to struggle with crime and perceptions of crime. The city saw modest population growth during the mid-2000s, but showed a decline in the 2010 U.S. Census. So as I was leaving the downtown area, I came by St. Vincent's de Paul Parish, which has a homeless outreach, and saw that there were some homeless individuals hanging out or sleeping and taking refuge on the church steps, and also to your left here in a second in front of some sort of hall, part of the building. Maybe they have a soup kitchen there. There were two people sleeping directly in front of the church steps, and I had heard something on the news about them saying that homeless needed to be off the street and they were going to crack down on something. Great information, huh? The individuals right there that were sitting on the porch, I actually went back and didn't get the footage, but I went and gave them my pack of cigarettes. I had a few left in there, about half a pack, and told them to keep their distance because of social distancing, and I kind of tossed it to the guy. I happened to notice these public housing, I don't know if they're kind of like townhouses near St. Vincent's de Paul. There were a few apartment buildings. You saw an older set of apartments in the last shot before this, but they look like they're either being redone, refurbished. There were some that were open on the other side of the street, but the roads, you wouldn't believe how rough they were. They were just potholed and rough and beat up, and they were kind of right up and around the corner from this Eat Right that you saw earlier. Anyways, didn't look like a great place to be, but it is housing for somebody. And here we are back above the city of St. Louis again. You can see the arch in the background. And you can see just how desolate and completely empty these streets are. There's just a car here or there, nobody walking, nobody out and around. I hope this works. It'll probably stop the spread of the coronavirus and keep too many people from getting unnecessarily sick. Have any of you guys had any experiences with people getting too close to you out in public and just kind of breathing in your face? I've had a couple experiences while I was working here recently, and it kind of aggravated me. Anyways, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what's going on with you. How are things in your part of the country? If you've made it this far in the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, share. Make sure you turn on the notification bell. If you want to be notified when I put out new videos, make sure you hit the notification bell. And also go over to Old and Fat Exploration and subscribe, and Americana Explorer. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.